the purpose of this is for us to shine a light on the work that you're doing, setting up and being part of the Festival of Flowers in Bradford. Many organisations wonder how to involve young people, and sometimes young people just take their own initiative to become involved in things and have impact on their environment, and through their collaboration, those with whom they're working with, to actually do something to move things forward. And I was very impressed when I learned what you were doing. I could have guessed that you would find something that in which you were able to add value once I'd met you, because you've got lots of energy and drive. But also, it didn't surprise me that you would get involved with the Festival of Flowers, because we met at the Royal Horticultural Society when I was attending a supporters breakfast at the Chelsea Flower Show a couple of years ago. And at that stage, you were an intern at the RHS. And I was very impressed because you were in the video that the RHS had prepared to tell us as supporters about some of their work. And not only that, you were amongst the RHS staff nobly hosting the breakfast at a terribly early hour of the morning. I think it was something like 6:30 in the morning. And it was a joy to meet you. And basically, we've been in contact ever since. So I'm very delighted to be able to talk to you about the Festival of Flowers, and it would be great to be able to ask you some questions. First of all, I know your name is Zahabia, and I just wondered, Zahabia, could you tell me a little bit about yourself?
Hello everyone, I'm Zahabia. I'm 19 and I'm from Bradford. So back in the pandemic, I got involved with the local allotment due to my mum having a colleague who had an allotment at the allotment. And yeah, I started going to the allotment quite a lot in 2020, and I really enjoyed doing everything to do with like growing everything, and also taking growing all the plants, all the vegetables, all the fruit. And I really thought this is something I want to go down in the future, like career-wise. So I was in year 10 during lockdown, and that's when I got really into it. And then a year later, when I was in year 11, I had to decide what I want to do in the future. So then I started looking at different things I could do, so apprenticeships and just college courses. So I applied the RHS Garden Harlow car in, I think it was probably like January, February in 2021. And then I got an interview in March 2021, and then they gave me a place there. And it was a level 2 RHS apprenticeship, and it was for 2 years. And so while I was there, I got an opportunity to go to the Chelsea Flower Show, and that's where I met you. So I studied that for 2 years, and I'm now taking sort of a gap year out just to do different things. And one of the things I am doing at the moment is putting on an event called Festival of Flowers. So that's my current sort of what's going on.
Wonderful. Well, as I say, it was a pleasure for me. I'm not involved in gardening in any professional way. I'm Margaret Casely-Hayford, and I have a portfolio of different things, but I am a supporter of the RHS, and I love gardens, visiting them and trying to make my own little garden. So it was really wonderful to find someone of your age who was equally keen, but who had taken it to another level, that is actually finding work within gardens and working at Harlow Car, and sitting next to you and just getting some of your enthusiasm was wonderful. So we started a sort of mentorship relationship, and I was really interested to find out that you wanted to do something within your area in Bradford. How did you come up with the idea of the flower festival?
So I think so when I went to RHS, the Chelsea Flower Show, back in 2022, it was a big eye opener for me because I'd never been to something like that before, and it was just like a brand new thing I've never experienced. And I just started thinking, like, a lot of people in Bradford wouldn't get the opportunity to ever go in their lifetime to something like the Chelsea Flower Show or Hampton Court Flower Show. And I thought, it'd been really good if there was somewhat local that wasn't obviously on the level as the Chelsea Flower Show, but somewhat just a bit smaller. And then I in April, in April 2023, I went down to the local cemetery, which is called Undercliffe Cemetery, and it's a really lovely cemetery, and it has a lot of heritage. And they sort of mentioned to me, they were like, "Oh, it's really amazing that such a young person's come to the cemetery because we don't have any sort of young people really coming here to even volunteer or help out." And they said we want more people from the local community to get involved. And I said, most of the community around here are, Pakistani Kashmiri. And I said, I don't think anybody would assume they can just walk through a cemetery, and that for that to be respectful. And they were like, we'd love it if more people just had a walk through, even had a picnic here. And I was like, well, you might need, maybe we should like sort of do an event. And that's when I started thinking, and I thought, the Festival of Flowers, because the cemetery, they do have quite big, like they have a very big like promenade, big pathways, and they have like two chapel areas where there used to be chapels, but they're no longer any chapels. And I thought, well, it's a good space, and I thought we should maybe do an event. So I just started thinking, and I spoke to my mom, and then we sort of came up with the Festival of Flowers, and it was to sort of get people from the local community involved in horticulture, doing workshops on like um flower arranging workshops, just different things within nature, like forest schooling workshops, just to get the community more involved with the cemetery and also with horticulture. Um,
Well, the interesting thing, Zahabia, is that obviously before talking to you, I wanted to know a little bit more about Undercliffe, and so I was reading about Undercliffe, and I think the Undercliffe Cemetery Company was set up about 170 years ago, and the businessmen who set it up actually wanted to have a cemetery that was dignified but still allowed local people to come in and enjoy the space. So they'd be thrilled all these years later to find out that your ambition is actually literally enabling what they had in mind, because it was people like Richard Milligan and Titus Salt. I think that they had really great ideals, great high ethics, and they'd be so pleased to know that you're using the space in the way that they planned. I didn't know that the two chapels were no longer in existence, and but the promenade is, so
yeah,
it's good that the promenade is there, and it'll be wonderful to get the community involved. But the
definitely.
other thing that I think what is good about what I hear from you is that you're not just saying, oh, it's there, do go along. You're actually finding a way of getting people engaged and to get them more involved through actually encouraging them in. And that's one of the things that I find about cultural events, because I've just been, for the last few years, I've been chair of Shakespeare's Globe. You can't just open the door and say, this is there. You have to find ways of encouraging people to come in so they recognize that they're entitled to be part of this and to enjoy it in the way other people are. So I think what you're doing is absolutely wonderful. And I'm delighted that your mother encouraged you to do this. Splendid. Good for her and good for you.
Yeah.
Um, so is it taking place actually, is the festival taking place actually within the cemetery
Yeah.
grounds? It's splendid.
So the cemetery, you could say, so there's loads of different sections of the cemetery. I think it's 20, well, it is 26 acres, so it's quite big. But the
Oh,
main
yeah.
promenade and where the most of the event is going to be held, the headstones and people have been buried there for like 150 years. Um, and at the bottom of the cemetery, we have a more newer area of burials. And obviously, I think some things we discussed about was what is respect, or would it be disrespectful to have an event there? And I think if you we've discussed it like with the cemetery, and I think I feel like it is quite a respectful thing, because back a long time ago, 100 years, when it was actually like a proper functioning cemetery and there were people getting buried there every day, they used to actually have glass houses to grow plants, and they used to grow plants and put them onto the headstones. And I feel like it's sort of reviving that a bit, because it would be really nice if people did make some flower arrangements and then just put them onto the headstones, where people have been laid to rest for a long time. And I think it's definitely respectful, because we're trying to bring the community to the cemetery just to not really pay respects, but just to have a walk around. And I think it'd be nice for the people who bury there to see some liveliness, because it is quite a
I think that's a lovely idea. I think that one of the things that is really interesting is that nature doesn't actually look after itself.
yeah.
And it's the intervention of man that actually makes things work and helps the ecosystem to work. And one of the lovely things about cemeteries is that they're places of quiet contemplation, and people can go there and take stock, and they can go there for remembrance, or they can go there and commune with their surroundings. If the surroundings are unkempt and unpleasant, it's not really a very welcoming space. It's not a place that will allow you to feel to get rid of the weight of what you're bearing. And I think having a festival of flowers is something that could actually help to foster that space of to give people just a moment to help them to relax and think about things other than their worries and their stresses, think about the loved ones, think about those they've lost. And I don't think it's remotely disrespectful. It sounds rather a wonderful thing to do. And the idea of encouraging people to benefit from the flowers and then putting them on some of the existing gravestones is actually rather wonderful, because there's something quite circular about the relationship. So it sounds as if there'll be quite a wide range of people within the community benefiting from the Festival of Flowers. Who is the Festival of Flowers really for, in your mind?
For me, I think it's the local community. My big focus is actually on it being a very multicultural day as well as intergenerational. So I volunteer at the cemetery, and there's me, and then the next youngest person is 59, and then from onwards they're all retired. And so, I'm the only young person. So I think intergenerational, we learn so much from the old generation. They have so much skills and so much knowledge. And I think it would be so amazing if everybody could come together. So really, I think it's for the local community, but the local community, our local community is actually quite, what's the word? It's quite multicultural. So I think a lot of people from different backgrounds will be there, which is really nice. And I think, it's so important to sort of, sometimes it's hard to like meet new people and, sort of, yeah, go into different sort of circles and stuff. So I think with the Festival of Flowers, hopefully more people will be able to meet and have a really good time and see all the positives within the different age groups and communities. So yeah.
That sounds wonderful. And I have to say that for someone my age, it's really super to hear a young person thinking about intergenerational relationships, because you're absolutely right. I mean, we've been there, we've done it, we've worn the t-shirt, as they say. And so there are things that we can bring, skills that might otherwise be lost. For example, one of the things that is really interesting to me is how many flowers I can just recognize, because my mother and my grandparents loved flowers, and I think you can pass on that sort of love and that sort of knowledge down the generations. And it's wonderful that you're interested and that you want to reach out to those who've got the knowledge and the skills as well. That's fantastic. And will there be a huge range of activities? Will there be workshops, classes, or anything like that for people to learn from?
Yeah, so there's going to be quite a few different, like quite a big range of workshops. So the one that I really focused on, which is sort of my favorite, is the flower arranging one, because I've never done flower arranging before, and I know a lot of people in the local community won't have either. So hopefully, there's going to be many people are going to be able to learn a new skill and make a flower arrangement. And I think if you look at bouquets, if you go to Morrison's, like bouquets cost £10, £15, £25, they're so expensive. So if people could just get the opportunity to do it themselves. And I think when people actually make something themselves, it's such a nice feeling to know you say, oh, I did that. So that's quite an exciting one. And then we're going to be having other activities. We're going to have some forest schooling activities, like den making workshop for the sort of more younger kids, and like stuff like whittling. We're also going to have things happening like haphazome, which is when you print like leaves and flowers onto fabric,
Oh,
which
right.
is quite cool.
Yes.
And seed bomb making, just making different things that people can go and take to their own gardens.
Yeah.
Let
That
me,
sounds wonderful. That sounds absolutely fantastic.
yeah.
Actually, one of the things that we haven't mentioned is, we've talked about multicultural, we talked about intergenerational. We haven't talked about genders, and one of the things that is really interesting is that people historically have thought of flower arranging as being sort of something for girls. And one of the lovely things that I've noticed on my Instagram pages and on TikTok is that there are loads of boys and young men involved in flower arranging, and they can do some fantastic eccentric things and make them look really wonderful. And so that's the other thing that's great about this sort of thing, is that with whittling and den making and so on, there's no gender dimension. It's whoever would like to do it can do it.
100%. Yeah.
So it sounds terrific. It sounds wonderful. And so to organize all of this must have taken a long time and a lot of energy and a lot of imagination. What's the process that's been involved so far for you?
So I've had to sort of create a bit of informal committee, and I've got a few people on board. So I've got two people who were on the trustee board of Undercliffe Cemetery. So they're on my committee. And then I've got two people from Ecclesfield Horticulture Society, which where my allotment is. And then I've got a few other people from the local community involved. And it's just about like sort of being able to delegate different jobs to different people, depending on skills and strengths. So for instance, I really wanted to get something like the Bradford Weavers and Spinners group involved. And one of the ladies who was on my committee, she said, "Oh, I know, I've got a contact for them." So I was able to get in contact, and it's just really good when you have different connections. They know people know different people, and it's easy to organize. But it is definitely eye opener. Like I've had to do quite a lot of funding applications, and I'm very thankful I've secured £3,900. I was because yeah, so I was really happy with that. So the money
Well,
is
congratulations. That is amazing. I remember when you first started talking about this, and I thought, well, she's going to have to build a network. She's going to have to organize things so that she doesn't do everything herself, so she can delegate and fundraise. And I just thought, oh my goodness, there's an enormous amount, and will she be able to do all of that? And it sounds as though you're doing it very, very admirably. Well done. Congratulations. I'm very impressed. I remember when we first met, and I was trying to find out what you wanted to do with your life, and you said at one point that you saw yourself in a few years' time as a chief executive, a CEO of an organization. And when a young person says that, inside you sort of smile and think, well, let's see. And I can see that with all the talents that you're pulling together and bringing to bear, I can see you as a CEO within a very short space of time. It's terribly exciting. So aside from your own future plans, what are the future plans for the flower festival?
So I've thought quite a lot about it, because at first I wanted to have it a bit more of a feel of Chelsea Flower Show. And then I thought, okay, that's quite a big job. Let's not do that this year. So hopefully if it's successful and if people really have a good time, I'm hoping that next year I can get an actual group of volunteers. So the other aim of the event is that people start volunteering at Undercliffe Cemetery, either on the grounds team or on the research side. And especially younger people, it'd be nice to get them on board. So yeah, hopefully more volunteers. And then for the actual event next year, I would like to have a few show gardens dotted around the local area of Undercliffe, which could be sponsored by different like garden centres in Bradford and different organisations. Because I think, if you walk around the area and there's no colour, it sort of feels like there's no life. And I think you can look at everything a bit more negatively. But when you see flowers and you see really beautiful plants, I feel like it gives everyone a very it's just a more positive outlook, and you actually feel like proud of something. So what I'm hoping is that people can actually, for the entire year after that, have a look around these gardens whenever they want, and there could be a map and it has all the show gardens. And I think, yeah, just see where it takes us. But I really wanted to have a bit more of a feel like Chelsea Flower Show. I mean, I would love it if I could actually get in touch with the actual RHS and maybe be able to get some people from Bradford to go down to Chelsea Flower Show or Hampton Court, or even the one in Manchester, which I can't remember what it's called. But yeah, it'd be nice to just see where it takes us.
Oh, wonderful. What a fabulous ambition. And I take my hat off to you, and I look forward very much to attending this year's Flower Festival in July. Is it
Yes,
July 11th?
July 7th.
And then also to see how you get on in future years. And I'm sure it'll be really well established before too long. So good luck with it, and good luck with the work that you're doing at Undercliffe generally, and good luck with your own personal career, which sounds as if it's about to take off.
Thank you very much.
Well
Thank you
done,
for being
Zahab.
such an amazing mentor.
Oh, it's my pleasure. It's been a huge pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.